Beautiful.
Liam might be going to check on our table.
Okay.
Ooh, Pikachu mat.
So already they're going. 20 Lore Pro.
I saw him walking around earlier. Robert. He's wearing a 20 Lore Pro t-shirt.
Nice. I think there might be a few of them around here, as a matter of
okay.
fact. Yeah, I met a guy named Wesley, I believe his name was.
Okay.
Super nice. He said he also does casting as well, so that's nice. So, fellow casters, shout out. You know, if you think this is easy, I promise you it's not. R&B just said, Rob! I'm assuming that's your buddy?
R&B probably knows Robert.
Yeah, there you go. He said, yo, stunning Rob, let's go.
So we are here in round 7. These are some of the top players of the day.
That's right.
I'm 08, and I see a little bit of emerald coming out of Rob's
Ooh.
deck.
All right, that's exciting.
That is very exciting.
I see some steel in there, and yeah, I see steel and emerald. Okay, all right, we got a discard deck possibly.
I'm very excited.
Then Andy, I'm not sure what we're playing over there.
All right, this is fun. We got a fun matchup.
We got a fun matchup.
Yeah.
We saw some
Liam.
emeralds peeking out.
We have some fun. We have some fun decks here. We have a deck we haven't seen before, and both of these players. So there was in Lorcana tournaments or in any card game tournament, when you get to the top or the end of the Swiss rounds, oftentimes you'll have some intentional draws in the end if it's allowed by the tournament organizer, so that players can get guaranteed spots in. And so we have a lot of that this round. These two players are currently in the top 16 standings. However, I believe that based on the results of this game, one will be out.
Oh,
so,
wow.
If I'm looking at the...
So this is an elimination game.
If I'm...
Okay. Man, they're yelling about Yu-Gi-Oh right now.
Yeah, so if I've done the math properly and I'm looking at the stats correctly, then yes, I think these players are playing to be in the top 16, and one will not be.
Ooh, that's exciting.
Okay.
So yeah. So we have
epic battle.
Pokemon mat on the right, and it's a Flesh and Blood mat on the left. Another very popular card game. You don't usually see it outside of Flesh and Blood because it has those zones in it. So.
Yeah.
You should eat. Jack and I will hold down the fort.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a fun match.
Scarf down a hot dog. We'll get started. They'll be here for the last games, I promise. Okay, going through. Doing our mulligans right now. All right. Redraw. Wow, he kept 2 cards and drew 5 more. Robert did.
Looks very official with that. I wonder what that token, like why he put that token on top of those 2 cards.
Maybe it's just a good luck token. Who knows?
Maybe.
Huh.
Just haven't ever seen them before.
Do you have any superstitions when you play games?
No, but most of our friends and I have an agreement that basically when in doubt, beat Liam. It doesn't matter who wins, as long as
Liam doesn't.
As long as Liam doesn't.
Brutal, brutal. I love it. All right, here we go. Kicking it off. Right off the bat, we got an Olaf going in to the Inkwell, and a turn has been passed. I see a Bucky. I see a Bucky.
Okay, is that your favorite card, Jack?
I like Bucky a lot.
Okay.
I like Bucky a lot. All right, we got Cindy Stouthearted.
And we got a Flynn. Okay.
Okay, all right. I'm excited to see cards we haven't seen a lot of today. That makes me happy.
Yeah. Okay, so we have Ruby Amethyst on the left, and then this Emerald Steel on the right here. So.
All right, again, these guys are fighting for a position in the top 16. After this round, we're going to shut down the game for today, and we're going to come back tomorrow with 16 players vying for the final prizes and vying for the victories. There's Bucky out right now with Flynn. It's a good combo.
Jack, can you remind me what is on the line for the top player? It's a case?
I want to say it's maybe 2 cases.
Ooh, okay.
Let's see here.
That'll be fun. Liam's nodding in the background.
2 cases? Okay, so that's 8 boxes of Lorcana.
Oh my gosh. Would you rather play for cash or Lorcana cards?
I mean, I kind of like playing for cards, you know?
I kind of do too.
Like,
I feel like that's a lot of fun.
I feel like if you're playing for cash, like there's a certain sort of level of like, like not cutthroatedness, but it's like it's going to be a lot more intense when you're like going for money. But there's a prize, you know, and I appreciate that.
It's
like,
a lot of fun.
I would definitely want to go for more of that.
I feel like we're like a little bit more methodical this this round. And I'm sure that this Ruby Amethyst player is like, wait, I'm not playing Ruby Amethyst?
Yeah, wait a minute. I'm playing a deck I don't understand or know. 2 Buckies out there right now. Wow, remember now if you play a Floodborn character, if Robert plays a Floodborn, they're going to have to discard 2 cards.
Ugh.
Not surprised.
So, quite exciting. All right, we got 2 Buckies on the board already, Liam.
Oh, man. This is great.
All right, Aaron, your turn. Tag out for the dogs.
Oh, man, I missed the start of this game. This is so fun.
Okay.
All right.
Why is this fun? Explain to the folks at home and maybe haven't been around for the last 6 hours why this is fun.
Yeah, so just stepping in, having seen nothing but looking at the board state, what we're seeing here is a steel emerald discard deck. This deck tries to shut down your opponent very quickly by turn 4 or 5, getting rid of your opponent's hand completely.
Wow.
And you do that with a couple different cards, but one of the key cards of this engine is Bucky, and if you can get 2 of them on the board, that sets you up nicely. So I do think there's a couple things that so Robert's board state is kind of where he wants it to be at this point of the game. There's a couple things which could be a little bit better, but having 2 Buckies on the board is great, because as soon as Robert drops the Floodborn character now, his opponent is forced to discard 2 cards.
Yeah.
And unless... Now, the key for Andy here, if he knows he's up against a discard deck, he needs to mulligan aggressively, try to get friends from the other side, because what he needs to do is throughout the first few phases of the game, draw cards consistently so that he has a buffer and can lose cards while still building towards 7.
All right, there's go. There's a double discard right there.
Ah, yes, because the problem for Andy is it's not necessarily losing key playable pieces, it's losing ink.
Yeah.
Because you're forced to either discard one of your key cards, like a Be Prepared, or the ink that you need to get to the Be Prepared, which is why we do see some of these discard decks being successful, because you're getting rid of your opponent's resources, and especially against these control decks.
Yeah. There we go. So we got Flynn, that Flynn Rider right there. Is that 4 lore for Flynn? Oh, no, he's the one where, is it for every card your opponent has or every character your opponent has? Let me see if I can find it.
It's cards in hand. So, unfortunately, we don't know exactly how much lore he has, because I can't see exactly how many cards Andy has, although I think it's 1. So for every card an opponent has in their hand, that Flynn Rider gets -1 lore. So the goal is to get your opponents down to very few cards so that Flynn Rider can quest for 4 or close to it.
There you go. His own biggest fan.
So
look at that that smirk. What's it? Smolder. That's what he had.
Smolder, yeah.
The Smolder.
So with if I'm counting correctly, and Andy really does have 1 card in hand, we do the math. Flynn Rider is questing for 3 every turn.
Wow, look at that.
I mean, this is, again, not having seen the first couple turns, this looks like a not quite a textbook start from Robert, but a pretty good one. Ideally, the one thing he's missing as part of this engine is a Prince John, which would allow him to draw cards off the discard. He'd love to have one of those in play right now. But absent that, Beast is getting him cards, and that's the game. I mean,
wow, he gave it up already?
I just think the writing was on the wall.
Dang, that is incredible.
So the only way for Andy to shut down that game at that point is really to draw a Be Prepared. But he can't expect to keep a card in his hand at that point between turns. So he has to somehow draw 1 card to ink for that turn to get him closer to the Be Prepared, and then have a Be Prepared.
And then he got nothing to do. You ink your cards, and you're like, well, all right. Man, that is impressive. That game shut down quick.
And that's why the discard deck can be good when the engine gets going.
Yeah.
The fun thing about it is, we talk about like engine building games or building an engine, and the fun thing about watching this discard deck is you can see the engine being built on the board. The pieces have to be in place, in play, for this to work. So the Buckies, the Prince Johns, those types of cards, you have to get them out. So, and so you can see it in real time.
Yeah.
This match, what Andy needs to do, and I'm sure he's thinking about already, is mulligan aggressively for some early game card draw. I mean, even a rabbit on turn 4, you need the early game cards, but you don't necessarily need to worry about taking early characters on the board to take out your opponent's characters, because Bucky is never going to quest. Bucky's never going to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And you can't target Bucky with removal.
No.
So you don't necessarily need to worry about the aggro from Robert per se, even though an early game, 2-cost Flynn Rider could be a challenge. So really, Andy is thinking about, I want Maleficent, I want friends from the other side, I want friends from the other side, I want friends from the other side, maybe a rabbit or 2.
Maybe a friends from the other side as well.
Yeah. We did see this same matchup. We saw an Amber I'm sorry, Ruby Amethyst deck ride it out earlier with a significant number of, friends and card draw to kind of keep them alive through the discard phase is onslaught.
All right, let's see how many
crush.
Andy mulligans this time.
You mulligan, I think 4.
Yeah, this one could be over quick, and Robert could be advancing. Again, this is the bubble. This is as close as it gets to a proper bubble. Like, the winner of this comes back tomorrow. The loser goes home tonight. Sad.
If my math is right, I think it is.
Okay.
I think it is.
I've never doubted your math.
I was a history major.
Oh,
so.
Okay, nice. I was a film major, so I got no.
Oh, yeah, so we're in the same boat.
So I'll just assume I'm wrong about whatever.
The thing about casting any competitive TCG event is the chat always lets you know when you're wrong.
That is true. Chat, let's see here. Let's see. Have you guys told us we're wrong? Full 7 mulligans has Cypher 1000. Was that a full 7? Did we miss that one, Cypher?
I saw him put some cards down. If it was a full 7, it may have been. It's to probably find friends from the other side.
Also, R&B in chat is a big fan of Rob on the right, so I think that's his buddy.
Yes.
All right.
Oh, for Robert. Full 7 mulligan for Robert.
Oh, was it?
Is that it?
Oh, for Robert, yes. Okay.
Okay, there we go. So again, I mean, for Robert, like, he has to build that engine. Now, there's certain cards which can cause a little bit of discard, but to really get the engine going, you want to be drawing into those Buckies, or even an early game Flynn Rider, where you can start gathering lore and putting pressure on your opponent.
So that improvised pop-up.
Improvised, fun little card, but lets you draw a card off it, which is
So I think he buffed his opponent just to get the draw.
Most likely.
Yeah.
Drawing for a Bucky, and there is Bucky. Again, turn 2 Bucky in this deck is just good. Andy has answers for characters on the board that aren't questing, and it's Teeth and Ambitions is a perfect example. But Bucky has Ward, so Bucky is just going to sit there and do Bucky things
just
until...
Be a furry item is all he is. He's
that's
just a furry item.
The only answers are Lady Tremaine, which is not available for many turns, or Be Prepared, which is not available for many turns. So
would you say this is like the perfect counter to a Ruby Amethyst?
I don't know about perfect, but I think it's certainly good if you play it right and you mulligan right. I think it is. The thing is, Ruby Amethyst has a lot of cards, like end game cards that it needs to play, and it really wants to get to turn 7. And every card you force them to discard is an ink.
Yeah.
Is an ink, and that's really what hits it hard. Jafar again, we've called it a few times. It's an anti-mini. That's exactly what it is. A mini surfer counter, looking to remove opponents' evasive characters. All right, here we go. So this is good for Andy. Like, getting a rabbit on the board gets a little bit of a board presence and gets him another card. I see another rabbit in hand. So each rabbit, if you think about it, is worth 2 cards.
Yeah.
If you play it right. So this is okay. And it will allow Andy to extend the game a little bit.
I will say I did spot another Bucky in Robert's hand, so this could get out of control pretty quick if he can drop down a Bucky and another Floodborn. Start picking away at that hand until you got nothing left, until you're just top decking it.
I think that would be the hope. If he has another one, I'd assume we'd see it here pretty quickly.
Yeah. And again, we are in the same room, folks, but they can't hear us. So don't worry about it. Okay, he's thinking, and there goes Simba.
So Simba, when it's played, allows you to draw a card and then discard a card, so you can kind of search around a bit, look for some answers, discarding a Tinkerbell.
She's a tiny tactician.
Tiny tactician.
And there is the second Bucky.
Second Bucky. Okay, this is where Robert wants to be. Yes, Andy's managed to draw, an extra card with Maleficent, an extra card with a rabbit. He's got some card draw, but being able to drop a Floodborn, force your opponent to discard 2 cards is good.
Yeah,
so
it's huge.
Andy, I'd venture to say that Robert is probably not concerned about that rabbit on board and probably doesn't want it to leave play at this point. Andy's going to be looking for ways to get rid of the rabbit to get a card or 2, probably here. But Andy's still with a decent number of cards in hand. There we go, another rabbit on the board, draws a card. but Andy's looking okay right now.
Yeah.
With a decent number of cards in hand.
It is wild how quickly this can start to spiral with such little ink on the table, too. Like, he's only got 4 ink, and yet now it feels like Andy is about to be cornered, you know? And so that is really impressive that it can happen so fast, the right combination of characters, right combination of cards, and, you know, your back's against the wall immediately.
That's a really, really, really good point.
Yeah.
And because
Thank you, I made it. That's why.
No. Because it makes me think. We're very used to, I think, in this meta right now, watching control decks.
Yeah.
And in a control deck, and every control deck that we've seen, in general, you want to play an ink every turn for a variety of reasons. One, you might be wheeling away your hand with a whole new world, and so just you may as well get that ink on the board. Or with Ruby Amethyst, you're trying to build towards the end game, and so you want a lot of ink. These aggro E decks or these discard decks, there starts to be a point very early on in the game where you say, I don't need to ink anymore, or I want to be very careful with my ink because I'd rather have the cards, and this is one of those decks. So you're right, like you're going to see many turns with Robert now, if we play this game much longer, where he's going to choose not to ink.
Yeah. Double discard right there.
Oh yeah.
With the Dreadnought coming down.
Bippity boppity boo, Dreadnought comes back. Dreadnought comes back into play, triggering Bucky's again.
Oh.
So that's 4 cards gone.
Oh, no.
4 cards gone.
And Robert's still sitting there with no lore.
So
he's just like, all right, fine.
The resource efficiency that songs give you.
Yeah.
Did you see? Shifted the Jafar. Unless I'm mistaken, Jafar sang Bippity Boppity Boo, bounced himself back, and now a hard cast, another Bippity Boppity. 6 cards.
Oh.
6 cards to Jafar with the Bippity Boppity Boo.
And now Andy is just top decking it. All right, and there you go.
This is rough. I think.
Oh, this is mean. He's already dead. Okay. He does have some characters out there though, so he's not completely in trouble yet. He has no cards in hand.
So Robert now needs to deal with the board because Andy's sitting on 12 lore. At this point is significant. You have the goat there, which is representing 13 lore. Probably is going to quest for another one. So at least 2 lore of the goat. And now, I mean, Robert did exactly what I wanted to do, but now we need to deal with the board state.
Yeah. Okay, what's Robert thinking right now? Because I think he needs to get rid of those characters before he can really start questing, right? That's the idea?
Yes.
Because if he ignores them too long, he's just going to pick away at it and just be like, all right, if you're not coming for me, I'll just keep questing.
I mean, Andy will be happy to remove a Bucky. So luckily, Jafar gives you card draw when you banish a character. So there's 1 card. I can't remember if Robert has inked this turn. Chat knows. I don't remember. I think he.
Well, he's got 5 now. He was sitting on 4 for quite a while.
Okay, so
maybe
he has.
did.
I think he has.
Or there he goes. Okay, they just inked now.
Not, and a big tink comes into play. 1 damage across the board.
Yep.
Okay. Robert very graciously giving us the hand indications as we talk through what's going on, but 1 damage across the board. So the 1 damage across the board isn't so much of a big deal for Andy right now. Everything survives. But Big Tink is a big threat.
Yeah.
Because it'll allow Robert to remove 2 characters in 1 swing next turn. So if Andy swings out, if he quests with all of his characters in order to get him closer to victory, Robert can remove 2 cards with that Tinkerbell. Of course, bandaging 1 in the challenge, and then dealing 2 damage to another one. So that's really the best part about Tink right now. And Simba doing a little bit of work there to remove 1 lore character.
So it went from, I think, 5 characters on the board to 3, all with damage at this point, too. So then Minnie immediately comes out and just gets played. And so...
But I will say upside for Andy upside for Robert is she's not the evasive.
Yeah.
So.
That is true.
Okay. Looks like Andy's going to go questing with the snake and the goat. So that'll be 2 more.
Yeah, Andy's going to try to sneak it in here. Andy challenging with a rabbit to take out Jafar. There's a variety of reasons you want that Floodborn Jafar off the board. But one of which with the rabbit is you can draw a card. Is Andy's inking immediately. Clearly it's a card he can't play, and he doesn't want to run the risk of holding that in his hand between rounds because Bucky's going to Bucky.
Yeah.
So, of course, the closer Andy gets to 7 ink there, the closer he is being able to play a top deck to be prepared if the situation presents itself. So Here we are, 2 characters down with the Tinkerbell.
And at this point, do you take the risk or no, I guess you got Minnie out there. So you quest with Bucky, but I mean, if he's only drawing one at a time right now, or do you just don't touch him?
I think those Buckies are perfectly, I think they're fine there right now. There's Flynn, that's what you want to see. So that's a 4-lore Flynn rider, which now is going to allow Robert to start to push it. So, okay, to your point, there we go.
He did this quest with Bucky.
Yep.
I mean, if you're only drawing 1 card per turn, the most he can do anyway is like, well, you know, if I'm going to force you to discard, I only need to make you discard 1.
Well, and so there's another aspect to it, too. If Minnie chooses, you can remove a Bucky.
Okay.
But if Minnie's challenging to remove a Bucky, Minnie is not questing for one of the 4 lore Andy needs to win the game. So, interestingly, Robert is probably, I would venture to guess, Robert's probably happier with Minnie Mouse challenging a Bucky than questing to gain a lore. And Minnie is no longer a concern.
Yep. Minnie's gone. All right, here we go. Here comes the lore. Going from 2 to 8, just a 6 lore jump there. But Andy has nothing in front of him. It's wild to think that I think it was 14-0. And now it feels like, you know, it was. Woo. Oh, and there's the Be Prepared. Wow.
Oh, what
a draw.
So Andy had that sitting in his hand after last, drew it with 6 ink, couldn't play it. On his next turn, had to draw an inkable card, and did, and played the Be Prepared.
Wow. What incredible. This is professional Lorcana, folks. It's wild. It's out of control.
Heart of the cards there.
That, like,
Heart of the cards.
Almost took my breath away. Like, I was like, oh gosh.
I mean, that's got to feel good for Andy, because now, I mean, before I'd have been like, well, Robert is down, you know, double-digit lore, but he's got this in hand. But now Andy's just turned it around and be like, well, okay. Although he doesn't have the cards, though. I mean, that's the thing. Like, he's still drawing. I mean, he did pull a Maui, which is nice. But still.
The odds were so low there because 1, you had to draw the Be Prepared at some point.
Yeah.
2, you had to keep it in hand against a discard deck, and then 3, you had to draw an inkable to play it on turn 7, and all of that panned out. And here we are.
Okay. Andy can taste that victory. He's so close. He's 4 lore away in this epic match to wrap up our day here. TCG Con, Houston. Okay. What's going to happen now?
I was about to say, I think
and there's another Bucky.
I think I see a Bucky.
Uh-oh. Are we going to see a Floodborn character right now?
So Robert now 2 cards in hand. Olaf. Here comes the Elsa.
Oh, let it go.
So Elsa, of course, can exert 2 characters. So Bucky would have been a nice target for it, but unfortunately, Bucky has Ward, making it untargetable by Elsa. And there he stands alone. But I think most importantly, Elsa sitting there with 3 lore, able to get this game pretty close.
You got to appreciate the Elsa. That art is just beautiful. And there's an enchanted version, too, which is the most valuable single card in all of Lorcana outside of promo cards right now.
Well, and that play was pretty critical. So
Liam's in game face.
Yeah, Liam's focused.
I'm in the zone.
No,
I'm sorry.
great.
I'm sorry.
No.
This is what we're here for.
Yeah, we're here. We're giving the color commentary. You give the play-by-play and why stuff's important.
I was just reminding people that removing that Cinderella allowed or prevented the shift of the Cinderella in play.
Nice.
Which was important.
All right.
So Andy with a winning point on the board.
So can this be stopped? I don't know if it can. Well, Roberts, will we see a 3rd game? This final match, again, reminding you, the winner of this will move on till tomorrow into the final 16. The loser likely going home.
Is that? I can't
You
see
are
the
making
other.
this as riveting as the Super Bowl.
I'm
Jazz.
trying.
I mean, this is
Big
on the
game
edge of
tomorrow.
It is, yeah.
Here in Lorcana tournaments.
I cannot see the other card in Robert's hand. Like, gosh, I wish I knew what it was.
You'll run over there and check and then come back.
Just tap him on the shoulder. Excuse me, can I see your
No,
hand?
but I'm interesting. I mean, Robert clearly is thinking about this. There is an out, I think, where Robert would have. All right, bibbidi bobbidi boo.
Chat right now saying cue everyone playing Bucky. Yeah, Lee Barbs. That's it. Feels about right. Okay, so bibbidi bobbidi boo. What is that going to do?
I'm curious. I'm curious with the so Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo targeting Bucky to what end?
All right.
To Cinderella. Okay. So Cinderella, when she comes into play, allows you to challenge ready characters.
And with that, I believe Andy can quest.
Well, but
Okay, Elsa comes back on the board. I'm confused. What? So why is this game not over?
Well,
not being obtuse. I'm just
no,
saying.
no.
Okay, and there it goes.
it is now. So
Okay. I was like, wait a minute. He needs one and he has one. Why are we waiting? So how was that? Okay, explain to the viewers at home what
And
you're.
us.
You,
All right.
you seem confused, or you
Well, I
seem
mean-
you seem contemplating something.
I need chat's help with this. Sean
Okay.
and Uncommon Card would tell me what's wrong. But so one of the outs for this deck was using Cinderella Stouthearted. When she comes into play, she can challenge ready characters,
Okay.
which allows her to challenge the fox. So what it seems Robert was doing was Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo, bring the Cinderella back, play the Cinderella again, because once it's returned to your hand, it's considered a different card.
Yeah.
And it comes into play and it can challenge ready characters. What confused me is, correct me if I'm wrong, but Cinderella Stouthearted doesn't have Rush,
Well, let's see here.
right? Well, that's what I'm confused. I see the chat, and I understand that. It was the Rush that confused me, because Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo does not say that your character,
So no rush.
yeah.
Just resist.
Because when the character comes into play, Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo or otherwise, the ink is wet.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like it replaces, it's not like it shifts. So what allows it to challenge the fox? That's what I'm...
Let's see here.
He sends Bucky back.
He sent Bucky back. Did they bounce to Cindy or something else? Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. No. It's so I was thinking of it as when Cinderella comes. It's when you sing a song. That's what happens. So bounce the Bucky, Cinderella comes to play. Yeah, challenges. Yeah.
Okay.
Got it. Thanks, chat. Yeah. No, Yep. That's it.
You figured it out. You
So-
figured it out.
Oh yeah.
You
It
cracked
was,
the
it was-
code.
It was a simple. This is what happens when you long
We're
day.
on round
Yeah.
seven.
Round 7.
Yeah, we watched 7 matches of Lorcana.
But no, that's good. It was a great play. I mean, so
And could this come down to a better final game?
I know.
Like, we are final game of the day. One of these players is going to the final. The other one is going home. Edge of our seats.
It's so wild too because it felt like Robert had it in hand after that first
Right.
match. It was like, oh my gosh, all right, he's gonna just demolish him, and then Andy just like, all right, picked away at it and figured out a way to win.
on the statistics before the draw on turn 6, the statistics on Andy being able to win this game. You know how you see on football that graph, the
Yeah.
odds, way up here for Robert, because Andy has to, like I said, draw the Be Prepared, can't play it, has to be able to hold it and not discard it against a discard deck for a
Yep.
turn, and then draw an Inkable to play, and then come back and win the game.
Yeah,
So it's a heck of a
that was a huge swing. A lot of fun to watch.
yeah.
Yeah, tell me there's no strategy in this game, chat. Come on now, love to see it.
Yeah, and chat calling out the mulligan too. Like, mulliganing is one of the most difficult things to do in this game. And there's so many cards which you're tempted to keep because you see them, you're excited you have them, you want to have them. But oftentimes throwing away more cards is better.
Yeah.
And because you're looking for, especially in certain decks, you're looking for key pieces. For example, Robert, if he did mulligan 7, managed to draw into a Bucky. And again, I think Bucky is the ideal turn 2 play in this deck. We also have a turn 1 play with Simba, so setting himself up well up here. So the aggressive mulliganing from Robert, I think, is what's allowed him to the last few games hit that Bucky on the appropriate turn,
Yeah.
and to try to do what this deck is meant to do.
So you figured if he had a Bucky in hand and would he just mulligan everything other than the Bucky, aiming for a second one?
Could. I think at that point you're looking for a turn 1 play.
Okay.
You also may be searching for, a lower cost Floodborn. But yeah, I wouldn't mind going into a second Bucky. The one thing I haven't seen in this deck yet is a Prince John in this discard deck. So I'm wondering if it's being run in this list.
I just saw the sudden chill get inked, and I like the art on that card.
I love
It
it.
is.
It looks
Really Reva.
stinky.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, I would like to see if Prince John's being run. Yeah, because we just haven't seen it.
Okay, here we go. What do you know? It's a Bucky, you guys. All right, and picking up a lore because nothing that's going to challenge Simba right now.
Yeah, and again, like, just a reminder, like Andy's strategy going into this right now, he knows his hand's going to be depleted early. He needs to build up a card buffer. So mulliganing for rabbits, mulliganing for friends.
Yeah.
Those are 2 cards you want early. Cusco also is fine. It draws you a card, but it's also a card that draws you a single card. So it's fine. It allows you to do stuff on the board. It prevents Bucky from questing. And it will get you a card. But really, friends you want, the rabbit you want, because you get multiple cards off of it. And that'll allow you to survive the discard onslaught.
Looking good here, looking good. All right, let's
Okay.
Storm Rage on.
Taking out the Cusco. And that lets Robert do a little bit of questing. So let's not forget, it's not only about allowing him to quest, but it's also that Cusco is a bounce target for a fox, perhaps, or a snake. So not allowing that character to remain on the board reduces the options Andy has available. There we go. Happy for this. Board presence off a card draw. So again, I think Andy's doing some of the right plays. Ideally, he'd like to sing Friends from the Other Side on turn 4, or a rabbit on turn 4. Those are both fine plays, but it's all about getting cards in your hand at this point.
Especially to prevent what happened last game.
Yeah, yeah. You don't want to end up top decking here. Okay. Here we go. Robert's picking his poison. What's going to happen here?
Okay.
Ink
Flynn and
and
Inkwell.
there's a Flynn.
Flynn and Flynn.
Yep. Importantly, it's a Floodborn Flynn. And we know what that means. There goes Ursula.
Oof.
Ursula is a fine. Andy's more than happy to discard the Ursula at this point. It's going to be turns before he plays
Yeah.
it. And it's uninkable. So there's Friends. Okay, so this is shaping up kind of like Andy wants it to. He's managed to draw like 4 cards, I think now, 5 cards to kind of supplement what's in his hand, and he's kind of stretching this game a little bit. So
Yeah.
I think he's feeling okay about this right now. Robert also, I don't think is terribly disappointed in the board state. He has a Bucky, he has a Floodborn, but I do think he's disappointed that Andy managed to hit that Friends. That really is not ideal.
Okay. A little
There
Lucifer
we go.
on the board.
Lucifer will force Andy to discard 2 cards or 1 action. So we'll see the 1 action go, a Teeth and Ambitions, heading to the Inkwell.
And this Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo.
Singing Baby to Bobbity Boo, bouncing the Lucifer. Again, so at some point, I don't know how many actions we have left in hand. I see a lot of characters, and we do see 2 characters go to the Inkwell. It's a goat and something else.
Yeah, this is where you just start picking them apart, and this is pretty rough.
But here, man, 2 friends. I mean, this is so hard for Robert. I mean, seeing 2 friends from the other side played is really not what he wants to see. Into the Inkwell, building towards turn 7. Another rabbit.
More draw.
More draw. And again, this is why knowing your matchups is so important. I mean, against a discard deck, it's kind of apparent, but Andy has completely changed, the way he's playing this game and what he's trying to do based on this matchup. And it's fun to watch him, adjust. Because normally, this Ruby Amethyst deck plays a little bit differently. You're doing different things, trying to get to that turn 7.
All right, so Robert's thinking about his turn. I appreciate the coin on the cards.
Yes, me too. Very much.
All right, Robert's only got 2 in hand right now before doing anything on his turn, so.
Yeah. Yeah, there's decisions to be made here. Robert is kind of on his back foot at the moment. He needs more cards. But the closer we get to turn 7, the more conscious Robert is that that Be Prepared is coming.
Yeah.
And so at some point, Robert has to figure out how to force Andy to react to his board a little bit, but without overextending. So here, forcing a discard by putting Flynn on the board, which again is fine. I think you're getting rid of ink, I think, is the big
Yep.
the big thing here.
All right, so looks like Flynn is going to go ahead and challenge that Maleficent there, knock it out. Thank you for the numbers. Appreciate that, Robert. Then Lucifer also quests.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Robert is 25% of the way to victory. But again, that looming be prepared. All right. Lucifer goes down.
Rabbit comes back. Another card. Goat into the inkwell for another rabbit, or the same rabbit.
Well, technically, it's a different rabbit when it goes.
That is very true. Yes.
So you taught me that. I learned that from you. I learned it from listening to you.
It is a different rabbit.
Yeah.
That is, I was about to say, the one card Robert wants to draw is a beast.
Yeah.
And top deck to beast, doesn't allow him to do any work on the board immediately. We're still getting close to the be prepared, but bottom line is Robert needs cards.
Yeah.
So top decking that beast is great.
Oh, someone hit the camera in frustration. I saw that. All right, then we're gonna do some more questing right there. That's our two Flynn's, and I believe that is you get -1 lore for each card in hand. So that was 2 each. I think 2 or maybe 1. Just one, yeah.
One each, yeah. It's putting a little pressure. He can only lose 1 to the rabbits this turn. Well, the snake is also a threat, so.
Oh, it looks like Andy's just going to go ahead and quest. And then drop down another fox. Robert with the assist.
It's very nice. And the rabbit again.
That rabbit. It's like a hey. That thing just keeps popping back up. You can't get rid of it.
Oh, hey.
No one likes hey, except for people who play hey.
Play them, yeah.
All right.
So Robert has answers. He has cards he could draw. I think the edge is with Andy right now, just because we're at the point where be prepared is a threat, and that really is, when you're playing Ruby, that really always looms.
Yeah.
And so that's the challenge here, is how does Robert apply some pressure and make Andy react to his board state without dumping everything he has onto the board.
So there was Dreadnought, so that was a Bucky discard. So Andy has 3 in hand at this point. Does he have any more Floodborn that he can play?
Jafar into the Inkwell. Now, Robert may be making a calculated decision here, as well. I talked about not overextending yourself, and in a control matchup, that's the play. In this matchup, actually, Robert may be forced to gamble that be prepared isn't there, because if you wait too long, it is there. And so perhaps, Robert's thinking here, let's get aggressive, let's try to close this game out, and because the fewer cards that Andy draws, the less likely he is to have that be prepared. Just hope it's not there.
Yeah.
And that's probably the calculation here, it seems to be.
Okay, so we've got 7 ink on the table now. So be prepared is an option. All right, looks like Andy's questing with a rabbit. Got Yzma. Haven't seen one of her in a bit.
So Yzma, it's the first time we've seen Yzma today. Yzma allows you to send a card to a player's deck, yours or your opponent's, and in return you get to draw 2 cards. So you can use it to banish one of your opponent's characters, or you can use it to banish one of your own and get some card draw out of it.
Okay.
And Andy has opted for the latter.
There's Minnie.
So one thing I do want to point out, Robert is, I need to see the cards in Andy's hand, but Robert is capable of forcing a lot of discard very quickly with the right cards.
Yeah.
Another Bucky and a Floodborn, and that's 2 cards. Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo can flicker a Floodborn. And so those Flynn's on the board represent 8 lore if Robert can empty Andy's hand. Now, I think emptying the whole hand is a bit of a challenge right now, but Andy has to be careful, unless he clears those Flynn's off, not to let too many cards go. Because Robert can gain 8 lore very rapidly. Now, it would be a stretch right now, but it is possible.
Okay.
Oh, sounds like they're actually calling for a judge.
Oh, we need a judge over here on the main table. I did see Robert point to the top of Andy's deck. So I don't know if a card fell off maybe. Chat, did you guys spot what may have happened there? Judge called time. Yeah, rabbit shuffle, then draw. So. All right, so according to this, let's see here. You have to put back Yzma, then shuffle, then draw 3. Send rabbit to discard instead of into the deck. You put rabbit in discard, so the rabbit should have been into the deck.
Which is, I think, what Liam had mentioned.
Okay.
Is that it needs to go into the deck, not into the discard.
Okay. So again, yeah, we're looking at the Yzma right there, which is when you play this character, shuffle another chosen card into their player's deck.
No, that's exactly right.
So what happened is it went to the discard instead of the deck.
Yeah, that's the issue.
And so we run a tight ship here.
So this is an interesting challenge for the judge here, because at this point the misplays happened. 2 cards have been drawn, and it's very, very difficult to reset this game state.
Yeah.
So to do it properly, if you were to actually reset it, you'd need to return those 2 cards that Andy drew to the top of the deck, shuffle the rabbit in, and then draw 2 cards. But there's an element of trust here, because if the judge chooses to try to force that kind of play,
yeah,
Andy has to be honest about which cards he drew.
Yeah.
Which we assume he will be, because Lorcana players and card players are all wonderful people and are gonna do the right thing. But this is a difficult thing to kind of to walk back a little bit.
Yeah.
Possible. Because I don't think there have been any plays since.
So it looks like the judge just randomly picked 2 cards from his hand.
Yep.
And then put
Andy
the rabbit
just
in.
shuffled his hand, and the judge picked 2 cards.
So
wow.
And this is I would argue this is probably not an uncommon solution in this scenario. Andy may end up losing cards that he doesn't want, may end up losing cards that he wants, but really, the judge can't trust that. Well, in a competitive setting like this, if you were playing somebody and you asked your opponent, be honest, send the 2 cards that you drew back to your deck. You could trust your opponent, but you probably feel better having the judge do it randomly.
So they're saying he drew a card off of rabbit and then 2 off Yzma?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess he banished rabbit and got a draw and then got the 2 more from Yzma. So he should have returned 3, is what chat's saying right now.
He did. He returned the rabbit and 2 cards.
They're saying rabbit and 3 cards because he drew off rabbit when rabbit got banished.
That's true, except when rabbit leaves play to go into the deck, it triggers the card draw.
Okay. So rabbit. Okay, so let's look at rabbit's
Right.
flavor
It's
text
when
here.
When it leaves play. So the question is an order of operations challenge here, where it leaves play.
So when it leaves play
and triggers, but it leaves play as part of Yzma's effect.
So that triggered.
I think chat is correct if what they're saying is, Merlin gets shuffled. The effect is triggered. Merlin leaves play, gets shuffled into the deck. That is the effect.
Okay.
Then you draw the card off Yzma, and then since rabbit left play, then you draw the rabbit card. Either way, I think chat's right. You draw 3 cards off that, and the shuffle would have happened before. So that is.
Okay.
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah.
All right.
So Yzma happens, then the rabbit, and so 3 cards should have gone back because the shuffle would have happened before the draw.
Yeah. So how does something like this? How does a judge coming into play? How does that affect sort of the mentality of the players now? Because now, Robert, he might be a little bit upset.
Yeah. No, we're good. I mean, it does a little bit. I mean, it slows down the pace of play. It slows down, kind of interrupts your thought process.
Yeah.
Some players can have time to think, but it does kind of throw you off your game a little bit. Of course, for Andy, it's a lot worse because Andy now had cards that he may have been playing around that he are now gone.
Yeah,
and
randomly
his
selected.
hand got completely rearranged a little bit. So.
But to be fair, if he misplayed it, that's a consequence of misplaying.
So that
the
100%.
action.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate, but it's also like that's a consequence because you weren't following the the appropriate rules or whatever you want to say.
Unfortunate or fortunate. I mean, unfortunately, in the scenario, Andy may have gotten the better end of the deal here. He may have gotten cards that he wanted and lucked out and gotten cards that he didn't want in return. So, unfortunately, sometimes there's no way to reset it, 100% to where it was and to do it exactly right. So, this is probably the best solution, although perhaps returning 3 would have been better than returning 2. Either way, though, I don't think it was any malice on the part of the player.
Yeah.
I think Andy trying to do the right thing. Unfortunately, moved fast to misplay.
Yeah. All right, Robert is still sitting there. Took out took out the snake with the bigger snake, and now he's contemplating. I saw a Tink in there. There we go, big Tink. He's going to do 1 damage across the board.
Yeah, no, crucially for Robert, like between the snake and beast, he's managed to develop a little bit of a hand here, which is great. I mean, clearly he doesn't want his board cleared, but he has a few things to present if the board is in fact cleared.
Okay. We're both sitting at 9 lore at the moment until that happened, and that happened. All right, so Robert at 13 lore.
Yeah, so Andy's hand size is really coming into play here because Robert, I think, is calculating. Andy could clear the board. Andy can also take out his Flins, which are one of his kind of win conditions, kind of close out the game. But Andy has so few cards, and Robert has a few cards in hand that he could play after a board wipe. I think Robert's calculating that he wants to get as high as he can, as close to 20 as he can, so that if Andy clears the board, he can play his Cinderella or another high lore character, and Andy won't have an answer.
Yeah.
Andy is not, with that few cards, he's probably not as set up as he wants to be for a board wipe if he has it.
Okay, Andy getting hesitant here. He's thinking about it. We got a Merlin Rabbit that's going to draw.
Yeah, so this is one of those moments where you kind of realize your opponent doesn't have what they want. You watch the play, you watch the rabbit, you watch most of the ink expended, and you know they probably are looking for something. Maui comes in with Rush, challenges Jafar.
Yeah, with those Flins out there, though, he kind of has to sit there. He can't just unload on the table. So
that's exactly right.
Yeah. But we might watch this happen, and some of the is he questing right now? Looks like he's questing Airbody. Okay, that was a lot of lore. Up to 16. 15.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Thank you, Steven, on the
5,
adjust.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I don't see cards in hand. I think there's 2. Really?
Let's see here. He's pointing at Maui and he's pointing at Beast. Maybe saying these guys should be buddies. They should go hang out with each other, perhaps.
They're both big guys.
Okay.
There we
so
go.
There's a forward board triggering Bucky, triggering the discard. I think 1 card left in hand, which means each of those Flins have 3 lore apiece. Bibbidi boppity boo, flicker the Tinkerbell. Tinkerbell comes back in, triggers the Bucky. That forces the last card discard. Flynn Riders now have 4 lore each.
And that is it.
Which is a significant lore swing, and that is the
Wow.
match. Be prepared. Was that next card?
Oh, no. Wow.
Next card.
Wow. How the turntables. What an epic game. What a great final match to finish our first day here at TCG Con. Liam is flabbergasted. He is
Speechless.
holding his mouth and shaking. He is so shocked by that draw, that play, that series of. Andy was incredibly lucky and incredibly unlucky in different circumstances. very lucky in the second game, very unlucky in the last game.
I'm going to throw this out there.
Uh-oh. Here we go. Liam's throwing things.
So let's. I want to think about the misplay at this point.
Okay.
Just because I think it's fun. And I know the chat watching was a little upset we didn't return that third card. Maybe the ruling wasn't quite right. But so we know where the Be Prepared was, and it was out of reach.
Yeah.
At that point, we also knew that Andy didn't draw the Be Prepared. Andy didn't draw the Be Prepared.
Yeah.
With the play that he made. Had he played Yzma right, he may have drawn a Be Prepared or had it in the right spot. So
Wow.
we didn't have the right ruling. Yes, it was a misplay. At the end of the day, though, it hurt more than it helped. And so I don't think that misplay advantaged Andy at all. So I think we had the right result.
Wow, what a wild series of plays there. And hopefully you guys dug it. Hopefully